The alarm rang through the ship like a scream in the dark. Kang Ji-won dropped his coffee cup and ran to the bridge. The hot liquid spread across the metal floor, but he did not care. Something was wrong. Captain Park Min-ho stood looking at the main screen. His face was serious. The other crew members were at their stations. Lee Sora sat at the communication desk with her headphones on. Kim Dae-yeon checked the weapon systems even though their ship only had basic defense guns. "What is it, Captain?" Ji-won asked as he reached the bridge. "Distress signal," Min-ho said without looking away from the screen. "Coming from Sector 7? That area is supposed to be empty space." Ji-won looked at the screen. Red dots blinked where the signal came from. The computer showed it was about 2 hours away at full speed. He knew that area well. Pirates liked to hide there because no trade ships usually went that way. "Could be a trap," Dae-yeon said from his station. His hand stayed near the weapon controls. Pirates use fake distress calls to catch ships like ours. Sora pulled off her headphones and turned around. "The signal is very weak. Whoever is sending it does not have much power left. And Captain, the signal is not in any language we know." Min-ho walked to his chair and sat down. He was quiet for a long time. The Rising Dawn was a trade ship, not a rescue ship. They carried goods between planets and stations. Saving people was not their job, but Min-ho was a good man. Ji-won had worked with him for 3 years and knew the captain would not leave someone to die. "How long until we reach them?" Min-ho asked. 2 hours and 15 minutes at full speed. Sora answered, "Any other ships in the area?" "No, sir. We are the only ones close enough to help." Min-ho looked at each crew member. "I know this could be dangerous. If anyone wants to vote against going, I will listen." Nobody spoke. Ga-won was not surprised. The crew of the Rising Dawn were good people. They would not leave someone to die in space, even if it meant risk for them. "Set course for the signal," Min-ho ordered. "Full speed. And Dae-yeon, keep those guns ready just in case." The ship turned and picked up speed. Ji-won went back to the engine room to make sure everything ran smooth. The old engines worked hard, but they were reliable. He had fixed them many times and knew every sound they made. 2 hours later, the alarm rang again. This time it was different. They had found something. Ji-won ran back to the bridge. On the main screen was a ship. It was big and dark. The hull was damaged in many places. No lights showed from inside. It looked dead. "That is a Corvani prison transport," Dae-yeon said. His voice was worried. "Military ship? Those are the people who fight wars all over this part of space." "Why is it just floating here?" Sora asked. Ji-won studied the ship on the screen. He had seen Corvani ships before at trade stations. They were always clean and powerful looking. This one was a wreck. Life support failure, maybe. Look at those burn marks on the hull. "The distress signal is coming from inside that ship," Sora said. "But it is getting weaker." Min-ho stood up. "We have to board it. Someone is alive in there and needs help." "Captain, that could be very dangerous," Dae-yeon said. "If there are Corvani soldiers still alive, they might think we are enemies." "If there are soldiers alive, they would have answered our calls by now," Ji-won said. "I think whoever is sending that signal is trapped and cannot get out." Min-ho nodded. "Ji-won, you know ships better than anyone. Take Dae-yeon with you and board that thing. Find whoever is calling for help." "Yes, sir." 20 minutes later, Ji-won and Dae-yeon floated in spacesuits toward the damaged ship. Their helmet lights cut through the darkness. The Corvani ship was huge up close. It was 3 times bigger than the Rising Dawn. They found an airlock that still worked. The door opened with a loud grinding sound. Inside the ship was dark and cold. Their breath made clouds in the air. "Power is mostly gone," Ji-won said into his radio. "Emergency lights only." They walked through empty hallways. The ship smelled bad, like something had died. Ji-won tried not to think about what that might be. They passed several rooms with broken doors. Most were empty. "This way," Dae-yeon said, pointing down a hallway. "The signal is stronger in this direction." They walked deeper into the ship. The hallways got narrower. The smell got worse. Then they found the first body. A Corvani soldier lay on the floor. He had been dead for weeks. What happened here? Dayan asked. Life support failed like I thought, Jiwan said. When the air recycling stopped working, everyone died slowly. They kept walking. They found more bodies. All Corvani soldiers, all dead for a long time. But the distress signal kept getting stronger. Finally, they reached a large room. It had metal bars and looked like a prison. Most of the cells were open and empty, but at the far end they could see a weak light. Down there, Jiwan said, they walked between the empty cells. The light came from a small device on the floor. Next to it was something that made Jiwan stop breathing for a moment. A creature lay chained to the wall. It was about the size of a human, but different. The skin was pale blue and seemed to glow slightly. Long silver hair fell around a face that looked almost human, but not quite. The eyes were closed, but the chest moved up and down slowly. Is that Daeyeon started to say alive? Yes, Jawan said. He moved closer. The creature was female, he could tell. She wore torn clothes that might have been white once. Heavy metal chains held her arms and legs to the wall. She looked like she had not eaten in weeks. The creature opened her eyes. They were large and completely black. She looked at Jiwan without fear. Her mouth moved, but no sound came out. She was too weak to speak. We found her, Jiwan said into his radio. One survivor, not human. She is chained up and looks half dead. Can you free her? Minho asked through the radio. Jiwan looked at the chains. They were electronic locks. He pulled out his tools and started working on them. Give me a few minutes. The creature watched him work. Her black eyes seemed to understand that he was trying to help. When the first chain opened, she made a small sound like relief. There, Jiwan said as the last chain fell away. The creature collapsed, but he caught her. She was very light and cold. We need to get her to the ship fast. She needs medical help. As they carried her back to the rising dawn, Jiwan wondered who she was and why the Corvani had kept her chained like an animal. But those questions would have to wait. Right now, he just wanted to save her life. The rescue was just the beginning. The alien woman lay on the medical bed in the ship's small medical room. Her pale blue skin had a soft glow that got brighter when she breathed. Jiwan sat next to her, checking the machines that monitored her health. She had been unconscious for 6 hours now. Her body temperature is too low, he said to Captain Minho, who stood in the doorway. And she weighs much less than she should. They starved her. Minho looked angry. How long was she chained up like that? Weeks at least. Maybe months. Look at these marks on her wrists and ankles. Jiwan pointed to dark circles on her skin where the chains had been. The metal cut deep. This was not just prison. This was torture. Lisora walked into the room carrying a data pad. Captain, I found something about her species in the computer. Files. She is Thylorian. They come from a planet about 50 light-years from here. What else does it say about them? Minho asked. SOR read from the pad. Thylorians are known for being peaceful. They have telepathic abilities, which means they can read thoughts and speak mind to mind. Most other species consider them harmless. Then why did the Corvani chain her up like a dangerous animal? Jiwan asked. I kept reading, Sora said. The Corvani Empire has been trying to force the Thylorians to join their military for years. The Thylorians refuse because they do not believe in war, so the Corvani started taking prisoners to make examples. The alien woman made a soft sound. Jiwan looked down and saw her black eyes were open. She was looking right at him. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Easy, Jiwan said softly. You are safe now. We rescued you from that ship. The woman tried to sit up, but was too weak. Jiwan helped her lean against the pillow. She pointed to her throat and shook her head. Her voice is damaged, Minho said. From not having enough water, probably. Sora brought over a cup of water. The alien woman drank it slowly. After a few minutes, she tried to speak again. Thank you, she whispered. Her voice was rough, but they could understand her. The universal translator in the room was working. What is your name? Jiwan asked. Vexara, she said. I am a healer from the city of Vises. I was trying to help establish medical exchange with other species when the Corvani captured me. Medical exchange? Sora asked. Vexara nodded weakly. My people know much about healing. We wanted to share this knowledge, to help others. But the Corvani said we must join their army first. Yuan felt angry again. This woman had been trying to help people and got imprisoned for it. How long were you on that ship? 4 months, Vexara said. They were taking me to a prison planet? To make me watch other Thylorians suffer, to break my spirit. Minho stepped forward. Well, you are free now. We will take you somewhere safe. But before Vexara could answer, Kim Dae-yun appeared in the doorway. His face was worried. Captain, we have a problem. 3 Corvani warships just jumped into this system. They are scanning for something. Everyone went quiet. Mingho looked at Vexara, then back at Dae-yun. Are they heading for us? Not yet. But if they scan our ship, they will detect her life signs. Thylorians have a different biological signature than humans. Minho rubbed his face with his hands. How long before they reach us? 2 hours, maybe 3. The captain left the medical room and walked to the bridge. The others followed except Jawan, who stayed with Vexara. Through the open door he could hear them talking. We have to make a choice, Minho said. If we keep her and the Corvani find out, we could all be arrested. Or worse. The Corvani have trade agreements with Earth, Dae-yun said. If we make them angry, they could cut off our supply routes. Thousands of people depend on those trade runs. But we cannot just hand her over, Sora said. You saw what they did to her. They will torture her again. Maybe they will just put her in a normal prison, Dae-yun said. You know that is not true, Sora replied angrily. Jawan listened to them argue. He looked down at Vexara. She was listening too. Her black eyes were sad but not surprised. She had probably expected this. It is all right, she whispered to him. You saved my life already. That is more than anyone else has done. No, Jawan said firmly. We are not giving up on you. He stood up and walked to the bridge. The others stopped talking when he arrived. Captain, he said. We cannot turn her over to the Corvani. Jiwan, I understand how you feel, but, Minho started. No, listen to me. This woman is a healer. She was trying to help other species learn medicine. The Corvani chained her up and starved her for months just because her people will not join their army. If we give her back to them, we are no better than they are. Dae-yun shook his head. One person is not worth risking the whole crew. Yes, she is, Jiwan said, and more than that. If we abandon her now, we prove that humans are just like every other species in this galaxy. We only help when it costs us. Nothing, Sora nodded. Jiwan is right. What makes humans special is that we help people even when it is hard. The Corvani will come after us, Dae-yun warned. Then we run, Jiwan said. We are fast and smart. We can stay ahead of them until we reach Thylorian space. Minho was quiet for a long time. He looked out at the stars through the main window. Finally, he turned around. All right, he said. We keep her, but everyone needs to understand what this means. We are now enemies of the Corvani Empire. Our lives are going to be very different. I can live with that, Sora said. Me too, Jawan agreed. They all looked at Dae-yun. He was not happy, but he nodded. If we are doing this, we better do it right. I suggest we head for the Helix Nebula. It has lots of places to hide. Good idea, Minho said. Sora, send a message to Earth. Tell them we might be out of contact for a while. Do not mention why. As the crew prepared to run, Jawan went back to Vexara. She was sitting up now and looked stronger. You are risking everything for me, she said. Why? Jiwan thought about it. Because it is the right thing to do. And because someone has to stand up to bullies like the Corvani. Vexara smiled for the first time since they found her. Humans are very strange. But in a good way. The rising dawn changed course and headed for the nebula. Behind them, the Corvani ships began to follow. The chase had begun. Commander Raxus stared at the empty prison cell through the screen. His face was red with anger. The chains lay broken on the floor where his prize prisoner used to be. How did this happen? He shouted at the officer next to him. How did humans Get aboard my ship. Sir, the life support failed while we were away. When we came back, everyone was dead except the prisoner was gone. The humans must have answered her distress call. Raxus hit the table with his fist. The Thalorian was supposed to be an example to her people. Now she is free and making me look like a fool. Sir, we are tracking the human ship. It is a small trade vessel called Rising Dawn. They are heading toward the Helix Nebula. A trade ship, Raxus laughed coldly. They think they can outrun warships? In a cargo hauler, ready 3 ships for pursuit. We will catch them before they reach the nebula. Meanwhile, on the Rising Dawn, the crew worked hard to stay ahead. G1 pushed the engines as fast as they would go. The old machines groaned but kept running. How much longer until we reach the nebula? Captain Minho asked. Lee Sora checked her instruments. 18 hours at current speed. But Captain the Corvani, ships are gaining on us. They will catch us in 12 hours. Can we go any faster? Minho asked Jiwan over the radio. Not without burning out the engines, Jiwan replied from the engine room. And if that happens, we will be sitting ducks. Vexara had been getting stronger. She could walk around the ship now and her voice was clear. She spent most of her time with Jiwan learning about human technology. Your engines are very different from ours, she said watching him work. Thalorian ships use crystal power matrices. Much quieter but not as fast. How fast are Corvani ships? Jiwan asked. Fast enough to catch us, Vexara said sadly. But there might be another way. If we can reach the nebula, there are places to hide. My people have secret stations there. Secret stations, Vexara nodded. When the Corvani started hunting us, many Thalorians fled to the nebula. The gas clouds hide ships from sensors. They built refuges there. Can you contact them? Not yet. My telepathic abilities are still weak from being imprisoned so long. But once we get closer, I might be able to reach them. On the bridge, Kim Dae-yun monitored the pursuing ships. Captain, they are definitely gaining, and there are more ships joining them. I count 6 now, Minho shook his head. 6 warships chasing 1 trade vessel. They really want her back. It is not just about me, Vexara said as she entered the bridge. Commander Raxus is the one who captured me. If I escape, it makes him look weak. The Corvani respect only strength. He cannot let that happen. So he will chase us until he catches us, Sora said. Or until we reach my people, Vexara replied. But that is still many hours away. The chase continued through the night. Jiwan stayed in the engine room, making small adjustments to squeeze every bit of speed from the old motors. Vexara stayed with him. She had begun helping with repairs, using her small hands to reach places he could not. Why are you doing this? She asked as they worked together to fix a coolant leak. You could have handed me over and been safe. Jiwan wiped sweat from his face. Because leaving you with them would have been wrong. Humans have a saying, we do not abandon our friends. I am not human. I am not even from your part of space. Does not matter. You needed help, we helped. That is what friends do. Vexara was quiet for a moment. Then she put her hand on his arm. Suddenly Jiwan felt a warm feeling in his mind. He could sense her thoughts and emotions. Gratitude deeper than words, respect for his courage, and something else, hope. What was that? He asked. Telepathic contact. I wanted you to understand how much this means to me and my people. Humans are very rare in this galaxy. Most species only help their own kind. That seems lonely, it is until now. 8 hours later, the situation got worse. The Corvani ships were close enough to start shooting. Energy blasts flew past the Rising Dawn but missed. They are trying to disable our engines, Dae-yun said. If they hit us, we are finished. How much longer to the nebula? Minho asked. 10 hours, Sora replied. We will never make it, Dae-yun said. They will catch us in 2 hours. Jiwan had an idea. What if we shut down all non-essential systems? Life support to minimum, all power to engines, we might be able to go faster? That is dangerous, Minho said. If something goes wrong, we could all die. If the Corvani catch us, we might all die. Anyway, Jiwan pointed out, Minho made the decision. Do it? The ship went dark except for emergency lights. The air got cold quickly, but the engines roared louder and the rising dawn pulled ahead of the warships. It is working, Sora said excitedly. We are gaining distance. But the victory did not last long. More Corvani ships appeared ahead of them. They had been waiting in ambush. We are surrounded, Daeyeon said. 12 ships total, all with weapons aimed at us. A voice came over the radio. It was Commander Raxus. Human ship, you are surrounded. Return my prisoner immediately or I will destroy you. Minho looked at his crew. They all looked back at him with determined faces. Even Daeyeon, who had wanted to surrender earlier. This is Captain Park Minho of the trade vessel Rising Dawn. We have no prisoners aboard this ship. Only passengers. Do not lie to me, human. I know the Phylorian is there. You have 1 hour to surrender her or I will begin. Shooting. The radio went dead. Everyone looked at Vexara. She stood straight despite the fear in her black eyes. I will go to them, she said quietly. I will not let you all die for me. No, Jiwan said firmly. We stick together. All of us. But how can we escape 12 warships? Sora asked. Vexara closed her eyes and concentrated. After a moment she smiled. I can feel them, my people. They are in the nebula and they know we are coming. Can they help us? Maybe, but we need to get closer, much closer. Minho looked at the tactical display. The nebula was still hours away. The Corvani ships formed a tight circle around them. It looked impossible, but humans were good at doing impossible things. Giwan, can you give me one more burst of speed? Minho asked. I can try, but it might burn out everything. Do it? When I give the signal, punch it toward the nebula. Everyone else hold on tight. The next few minutes would decide if they lived or died. Now! Captain Minho shouted. G1 slammed his hand down on the emergency power button. Every system on the Rising Dawn screamed as power flowed to the engines. The ship shot forward like a bullet toward the gap between 2 Corvani warships. The Corvani were surprised. They had expected the humans to surrender, not try to run. Energy weapons fired all around the small trade ship, but most missed. The Rising Dawn was moving too fast and changing direction too quickly. We are through the first line, Sora yelled from her station. But there are more ships ahead. And behind us, Kim Daeyeon added. They are following and they look angry. The engine room warning lights flashed red. Giwan could smell burning circuits. The old engines were not meant to run this hard. But they kept going because they had to. How long can we keep this up? Vexara asked. She had stayed with him even though the engine room was dangerous now. Maybe 20 minutes before everything burns out, Jiwan said. Is that enough to reach your people? Vexara closed her eyes and concentrated. Her pale blue skin glowed brighter as she used her telepathic abilities. They are coming. But they need more time to reach us, at least an hour. We do not have an hour. On the bridge, Minho watched as more Corvani ships joined the chase. There were 15 now and more arriving every few minutes. The Rising Dawn was fast but not fast enough. Captain, Daeyeon said, I am picking up a message from Commander Raxus. He is offering one more chance to surrender. Ignore it, Minho replied. Sir, he is saying if we do not stop, he will destroy us. And everyone aboard, no prisoners. The crew went quiet. That changed things. Before the Corvani wanted Vexara alive. Now they were willing to kill her rather than let her escape. Vexara, Minho called over the radio. Can you hear me? Yes, Captain. Her voice came back from the engine room. Raxus is threatening to kill all of us. Are you sure your people can help? There was a pause. I can feel them getting closer. But Captain, I think I should surrender. You have done enough for me. No, Jiwan said firmly. We do not abandon friends. But the situation was getting worse fast. Energy blasts were hitting closer to the ship. The Corvani were better shots when they were not trying to capture the ship intact. Engines are overheating, Jiwan reported. We have maybe 10 minutes before they shut down automatically. Distance to the nebula, Minho asked. Still 30 minutes, Sora answered. I stared at the tactical display. 15 warships behind them and more ahead. Even if they reached the nebula, the Corvani would follow them in. The only way to save Vexara was to give the Phylorian rescue ships more time to reach them. He made a decision that would change everything. G1, report to the bridge immediately. Bring Vexara with you. A few minutes later they were all gathered on the bridge. The ship shook as another energy blast flew past them. Listen carefully, Minho said. We are not going to make it to the nebula with all these ships chasing us. But there might be another way. He walked to the tactical display and pointed to a small shuttle bay icon. We have one small shuttle. It can carry 2 people. If someone takes the shuttle and draws the Corvani ships away, the Rising Dawn might be able to reach the nebula with Vexara. Everyone understood what he was suggesting. It was a suicide mission. The shuttle had no weapons and no shields. Whoever took it would be flying straight into the Corvani fleet. I will do it, Dayan said immediately. It was my job to protect this ship. No, Sora said. I am the communications officer. I can send false signals to confuse them longer. It should be me, Minho said. I am the captain. This is my responsibility. No, Jiwan said quietly. It should be me. Everyone looked at him. Jiwan, you cannot, Vexara said. You saved my life. I will not let you die for me. You are not letting me do anything, Jiwan replied. I am choosing to do this, and I am the best choice. I know the shuttle systems better than anyone. I can keep it running longer and draw more ships away. Minho shook his head. I cannot order you to do this. You are not ordering me. I am volunteering. The ship shook again. The Corvani were getting closer. There was no more time to argue. If you are going to do this, you need to go now, Dayan said, looking at his instruments. They are almost in firing range. Jiwan turned toward the shuttle bay, then stopped. He looked back at Vexara. Promise me something. What, if you make it home? Tell your people about us. Tell them that humans keep their promises, even the hard ones. Vexara stepped forward and put her hand on his face. Again he felt that warm telepathic contact. This time he could sense her emotions clearly. Sadness that he was leaving, gratitude for his sacrifice, and determination to make sure his death meant something. I promise, she said softly. And Yuan, I promise something else. Your sacrifice will not be forgotten. Ever. Jiwan nodded and ran toward the shuttle bay. Behind him he could hear Minho giving orders to prepare for the separation. The shuttle was small and cramped. It had been designed for short trips between ships, not for running from warships. But it would have to do. As he started the engines, he heard Vexara voice over the radio. Jiwan, there is something I need to tell you. I can feel my people clearly now. They are very close. And they are not just refugees. They are something else. Something the Corvani do not know about. What do you mean? You will see. Just remember that sometimes the weakest-looking people are actually the strongest. The shuttle bay doors opened and Jiwan flew out into space. Immediately, the Corvani ships began chasing him. He turned away from the Rising Dawn and flew toward the largest group of warships. Come and get me, he said over the open radio frequency. You want to fight, you got one. Behind him, the Rising Dawn disappeared into the nebula. Ahead of him, 15 Corvani warships moved to intercept his tiny shuttle, but as the first energy weapons began firing, something impossible happened. Ships began appearing out of the nebula. Not small refugee vessels, but large warships with weapons that glowed like stars. The Phylorians had been hiding more than just refugees in the gas clouds. They had been hiding a fleet, and now that fleet was coming to save both Jiwan and Vexara. Jiwan could not believe what he was seeing. 20 massive ships emerged from the nebula like ghosts becoming solid. They were unlike anything he had ever seen. The hulls were white and seemed to glow with inner light. Instead of hard edges like human or Corvani ships, these vessels flowed like water frozen in motion. What are those? He said into his radio. Phylorian defense ships, Vexara answered from the Rising Dawn. My people are not as helpless as the galaxy believes. The lead Phylorian Ship was enormous. It dwarfed even the largest Corvani warship. A voice came over the radio speaking in a language Jiwan did not recognize, but somehow he understood it perfectly. Human vessel, this is Elder Thyses of the Phylorian Defense Fleet. You have shown great courage protecting our daughter. We will not let your sacrifice be wasted. How can I understand you? Jiwan asked. Vexara is sharing her telepathic abilities with you through your emotional connection. She is translating for us. Jiwan looked back toward the nebula where the rising dawn was hidden. Even across the distance he could feel Vexara's presence in his mind. It was warm and comforting, like having a friend standing next to him. The Corvani ships had stopped chasing Jiwan's shuttle. They were staring at the Phylorian fleet in shock. Commander Rax's voice came over the radio, sounding confused and angry. What is this? Phylorians do not have warships. You are pacifists. You do not fight, Elder Thyses answered calmly. We do. Not Star Wars Commander Raxus, but we are not defenseless. For 50 years your people have hunted us, imprisoned us, tortured us. We have endured because we hoped for peace. But sometimes peace must be protected with strength. You cannot match our firepower, Raxus said, but his voice sounded less confident now. We shall see. The Phylorian ships moved forward. They did not look fast, but they glided through space like they were swimming through water. The Corvani opened fire first. Bright energy beams struck the white hulls. Nothing happened. The Phylorian ships absorbed the weapons fire like it was light from a distant star. Then they began to glow brighter. Impossible, Raxus shouted. Nothing can absorb that much energy. Phylorian defensive technology, Elder Thyses explained calmly. We store the energy from your weapons and use it to power our own systems. The more you shoot at us, the stronger we become. The Phylorian ships fired back, but their weapons were different too. Instead of destructive energy beams, they fired something that looked like white lightning. When it hit the Corvani ships, the vessels simply stopped moving. What did you do to us? Raxus demanded. Disabled your weapon systems and engines. Your crews are unharmed, but your ships cannot fight or run away. Jiwan watched in amazement as the Phylorian fleet systematically disabled every Corvani vessel without killing anyone. In less than 10 minutes, 15 warships were floating helplessly in space. This is incredible, he said. Why did you not fight back before if you could do this? Because fighting changes you, Elder Thyses replied. Every time you use violence, even in defense, you become a little less than you were. We chose to endure suffering rather than become the kind of people who cause suffering. But you fought today, yes, because sometimes you meet people worth fighting for. People who risk everything to protect strangers. People who show you that not all species are cruel. The rising dawn emerged from the nebula and flew toward Jiwan. Shuttle. Soon he was back aboard his own ship, standing with his crewmates. Vexara hugged him tightly. I thought you were going to die, she said. So did I, Jiwan admitted. But your people saved me. No, said a new voice. You saved yourself and all of us. They turned to see a tall Phylorian materializing on the bridge. It was Elder Thyses. Looked like an older version of Vexara with silver hair and wise eyes. How did you get aboard our ship? Captain Minho asked. Phylorian transportation technology. We can move our molecular structure through space over short distances. Very useful for avoiding detection. Elder Thyses looked at each human crew member. I wanted to meet the people who risked everything for one of our own. This is very unusual behavior in our galaxy. We just did what was right, Minho said. Yes, that is what makes it unusual, Elder Thyses smiled. Most species help their own kind and ignore everyone else. You helped a stranger from a species you had never met before. Why, Jiwan answered. Because she needed help and we could give it. It was not complicated. It was to us, Elder Thyses said. We have been watching your species since you began traveling between stars. You are very young, but you show great promise. Today you prove that promise is real. She walked to the main screen where Commander Rax's ship was visible, floating helplessly in space. Commander Raxus has been hunting my people for 3 years. He has captured dozens of our healers and teachers. tortured them, killed some of them, all to force us to join the Corvani military. What will you do with him now? Lisora asked. Nothing. Violent. We will take him and his crews to the nearest Galactic Council station, along with all the evidence we have been gathering about Corvani war crimes. Evidence? Dayan asked. Elder Thyses nodded. For 50 years we have been documenting every crime the Corvani committed against peaceful species. Every illegal imprisonment, every act of torture, every murdered diplomat. We have been waiting for the right moment to present this evidence to the galaxy. What makes this the right moment? Minho asked. Elder Thyses looked at Vexara, then back at the humans. Because now we have witnesses from a neutral species. Humans who saw with their own eyes how the Corvani treat prisoners. Your testimony will carry weight because you have no reason to lie. Vexara stepped forward. Elder, there is something else. While I was imprisoned, I was able to read the minds of the Corvani guards. I learned about secret prison camps. Places where they keep other species who refuse to join their empire. How many camps? Elder Thyses asked. At least 12. Maybe more. Thousands of prisoners from dozens of species. Elder Thyses was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was sad but determined. Then it is time to end this. The Corvani have been allowed to terrorize peaceful species for too long. With your help and this evidence, we can stop them. What do you need us to do? Jiwan asked. Come with us to the Galactic Council. Tell them what you saw. Help us prove that the Corvani are not the honorable warriors they pretend to be, but bullies who prey on the weak. Minho looked at his crew. They all nodded. We will do it, he said. But I have one question. You said you have been watching humans. What do you think of us? Elder Thyses smiled. We think you might be exactly what this galaxy needs. A species that is strong enough to fight, but wise enough to know when fighting is wrong. And brave enough to risk everything for strangers. She looked directly at Juan. Today you showed us something we had almost forgotten. That courage and compassion can change the universe. As the Phylorian fleet escorted the rising dawn toward Galactic Council space, G1 realized their simple rescue mission had become something much larger. They were about to change the balance of power in their part of the galaxy. 3 months later, G1 stood in the largest room he had ever seen. The Galactic Council chamber was enormous, with seats for representatives from over 200 species. The curved walls reached so high he could barely see the ceiling. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy filled the seats, all looking down at him. Are you nervous? Vexara asked quietly. She stood next to him at the witness platform, wearing formal robes that glowed softly white. Terrified, Jawan admitted, I have never spoken to so many people before. You will do fine. Just tell them what you saw. The truth is powerful. At the center of the chamber sat Ambassador Crix, a tall being with 4 arms and silver skin. As the current council president, he would decide if the evidence against the Corvani Empire was strong enough for action. The council recognizes Vexara of the Phylorian people, Ambassador Crix announced. His voice echoed through the massive room. Vexara walked to the speaking platform. She had grown stronger over the past months, and her telepathic abilities were fully restored. But more than that, she had become a leader among her people. Honored Council, she began. For 50 years, the Corvani Empire has terrorized peaceful species. They demand we join their military or face imprisonment and torture. Today I present evidence of their crimes. The lights dimmed and holographic images appeared above the chamber. Pictures of prison ships. Recordings of Corvani commanders discussing illegal captures. Documents showing secret prison camps on remote planets. The council members murmured in shock as they saw the evidence. Some had known about Corvani aggression, but seeing the full scope was overwhelming. This evidence was gathered over decades by Phylorian telepaths who could read the minds of our captors. Vexara continued, but evidence alone is not enough. Today I present witnesses who saw these crimes with their own eyes. She gestured toward Jawan and his crewmates. Humans from the trade vessel Rising Dawn. They risked their lives to save me from torture and imprisonment. Ambassador Crix looked at the humans with interest. The council recognizes Captain Park Minho of Earth. Captain Minho walked to the platform. He had practiced his speech many times, but Jiwon could tell he was nervous too. 3 months ago, we found a Corvani prison ship drifting in space, Minho began. The crew was dead, but we found one survivor. Vexara was chained to a wall like an animal. She had been starved and tortured for months simply because her people refused to join the Corvani military. He paused and looked around the chamber. We are a small trade ship. We had no weapons to fight warships, no political power to protect us. But we could not leave her to die. So we took her aboard and ran. The holographic display showed images of the damaged prison ship and the cell where Vexara had been held. Several council members made sounds of disgust. The Corvani sent 15 warships to recapture one injured healer, Minho continued. They were willing to kill all of us rather than let her escape. That tells you everything you need to know about their character. Ambassador Crix nodded. The council recognizes engineer Kang Ji-won of Earth. Ji-won walked to the platform on shaking legs. This was the moment that mattered most. Everything depended on whether the council believed him. I was the one who found Vexara, he said. His voice echoed strangely in the huge chamber. When I saw her chained up, I did not think about politics or trade agreements. I just saw someone who needed help. He looked up at the thousands of faces watching him. I learned something important during our escape. Most species in this galaxy only help their own kind. They ignore suffering if it does not affect them directly. But humans cannot do that. When we see someone in pain, we have to help even if it costs us everything. And what did it cost you? Ambassador Crix asked. We lost our trade routes. The Corvani banned us from their space. We had to find new ways to make a living. Some people said we were foolish to risk so much for one alien. But I think we proved something important. What did you prove? Ji-won looked at Vexara, who smiled encouragingly. We proved that doing the right thing is always worth the cost. And we proved that humans will not stand by while bullies hurt innocent people. The chamber was quiet for a moment. Then Ambassador Crix spoke again. The council has reviewed all evidence presented. Commander Raxus and his officers have confessed to multiple war crimes. The secret prison camps have been found and the prisoners freed. The evidence against the Corvani Empire is overwhelming. He stood up and his forearms spread wide. By unanimous vote, the Galactic Council condemns the Corvani Empire for crimes against peaceful species. All Corvani military forces will withdraw from neutral space immediately. Reparations will be paid to the victims of their aggression. The chamber erupted in cheers from representatives of species who had suffered under Corvani rule. But Ambassador Crix was not finished. The council also recognizes that this justice would not have been possible without the courage of the humans who rescued Vexara and brought this evidence to light. He looked directly at Ji-won and his crew. Therefore, the council formally invites humanity to join as full members with all rights and privileges. Your species has shown that true strength comes not from weapons or conquest, but from protecting those who cannot protect themselves. The cheering got louder. Ji-won felt overwhelmed. When they had rescued Vexara, he had never imagined it would lead to this. There is one more matter, Ambassador Crix said as the noise died down. The Thylorian people have requested permission to establish a joint medical research station with humanity. This station will develop new healing techniques and train doctors from all species. Vexara stepped forward. The station will be built at the coordinates where Ji-won first found me. It will be called Hope Station to honor the hope that humans showed us when everyone else had given up. Elder Thizes, who had been watching from the gallery, stood up. The Thylorian Defense Fleet will protect this station and ensure it remains neutral ground where all species can come for healing. 6 months later, Ji-won floated in a spacesuit outside Hope Station watching the final construction. The station was beautiful. Human engineering and Thylorian crystal technology had combined to create something neither species could have built alone. It looks good, Vexara said over the radio. She was working beside him installing the last sensor array. Better than good? It looks like home? The Rising Dawn was docked at the station. Captain Minho had decided to make Hope Station their permanent base. They now carried medical supplies instead of trade goods, delivering aid to worlds that needed it. Jiwan, Vexara said suddenly. I have been thinking about what you said to the council, about humans not being able to ignore suffering. What about it? I think that quality will either save the galaxy or change it completely. Jiwan looked out at the stars. Ships from dozens of species were approaching the station. Some brought patients who needed help. Others brought young doctors who wanted to learn. All of them came because word had spread that Hope Station would help anyone regardless of their species or ability to pay. Maybe both, he said. In the months since the council hearing, everything had changed. The Corvani Empire was rebuilding under new leadership that respected other species' rights. Dozens of worlds that had lived in fear were now free, and humanity had taken its place as a respected member of galactic civilization. But the biggest change was in how species treated each other. The story of the humans who risked everything for a stranger had spread across the galaxy. Other species began helping each other more. Trade increased, wars decreased. Hope was spreading. Elder Thizes was right, Vexara said as they finished their work. You humans are exactly what this galaxy needed. We are not special, Jawan replied. We just do what needs to be done. That is what makes you special. They floated there for a moment, looking at the station that had grown from their friendship. Ships full of patients and healers moved back and forth. The galaxy was becoming a better place, one act of kindness at a time. Ready to go inside? Vexara asked. The dedication ceremony starts in an hour. In a minute, Jiwan said. I want to remember this moment. When we first met, you were chained up and dying. Now look what we built together. We built more than a station, Vexara said softly. We built proof that different species can work together. That courage and compassion can change everything. As they headed back inside Hope Station, Jiwan smiled. Sometimes the most important journeys began with a simple choice to help someone in need. And sometimes that choice changed the entire galaxy. The rescue was complete. But the real adventure was just beginning.